Side 30 seconds.
Okay.
And so you don't get thrown off when I do this, 3 minutes left, 2 minutes left, 1 minute, 30 seconds.
But he's talking to me.
I'm talking to him, not to you. So if you're talking, ignore. It's for him. Okay, Jimmy, here we go. Mics are up, going hot.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Recovery Talk. My name is Jim Quigley. It's Thursday, 10:30. We missed last week because of the 4th of July. I hope everybody had a great time, 4th of July. You know what? I spent my first 4th of July on Lake Watauga or Watauga Lake, whatever. I don't know which way you say it.
But Watauga Lake,
Watauga
I think,
Lake.
yeah.
Man, what a beautiful resource we have up here. That is a gorgeous, gorgeous lake. So, again, hope everybody had a good time. I missed everybody. I always miss not being able to be here on the radio show, but you know what? No, there was nobody here. So, anyway, glad to be back, and I'm excited to announce my guest here. But before we get into the show, just want to quickly, you just heard a commercial before the show started, but Freedom Auto Tech is the sponsor of this show. They have been busy this week, and you know what? They are welcoming more business. So lots of happy customers over there. Freedom Auto Tech, they offer 2-year, 24,000-mile warranties on parts that you purchase from them, and professional service done on your vehicle. So give them a call if you have a check engine light on, or a rattle under the hood, or maybe your wheels are wiggling or something. Give them a call. They're ready to fix you up. 828-355-4434. That's their number. Give them a call. 828-355-4434. And know what? They're open on Saturdays, which is kind of a unique thing around here when it comes to auto shops. So give them a call even on Saturday and get your car fixed. So this morning, my guest is a little bit of a unique guy. Chad, why don't you say hi to everyone?
Hi.
So wave to our friends on Facebook, and just a reminder for any of you that are listening in your cars, that if you heard something on the show and it was like, hey, I wish I would have heard what they were saying before, or you weren't able to listen to everything, you can always go to Facebook and check out Recovery Talk is the page. And we have all the episodes. Today's episode will be on there later today. And all the previous episodes are Facebook Live every time for your viewing pleasure. So go ahead and go back and like our page, and you'll get an alert every time we go live. Also, we have Recovery Talk 1 on Twitter. And you can also go to freedomfarmministries.org, and we post... if you're not a Facebook user, which there's less and less of those today. There are a lot of people getting off Facebook. I'm thinking about it, but it's kind of a hard thing to do. You don't have one, so you're a unique person. Yeah. But, they're...
Where are they going, Jim, if they're getting off Facebook?
I don't know. And I think that's going to be a big mystery. Our government will probably have to spend billions of dollars to try to figure out. So...
Stop.
Actually, here's a political thing. I watch too much politics, but there's actually some kind of a social media summit going on today at the White House, and they're going to have a meeting in the Rose Garden after they have all talked. So anyway, let's get back to what we want to talk about. We're not going to talk about Facebook and social media. Just go there if you want to see the show. But we have Chad on the show today, and it's funny, we've talked about Chad before Chad came to the high country. And Chad, have you seen that episode?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so if you're looking at previous episodes, we had a guy by the name of Adam Woodard. And Adam, up until just recently, was a mechanic at Freedom Auto Tech, but he's had to move on to another position. He's actually gotten off his tools, and he's working... I'm not going to promote his new job, but he's working at service advisor at a dealership, and we're very proud and happy for him. But Adam came on our show, and Adam did not struggle himself with substance abuse, but he talked about growing up and living with a loved one that did, which is the gentleman that's sitting next to me. So in a way, this is just as I don't want to call it a miracle, but it's pretty awesome.
It's a blessing.
It's a blessing that we had a guy who's your younger brother, right? So Chad's younger brother came on here, and he's the one that pushed you to come up here and suggested it and said, hey, this would be a good idea. And here you are today, and you've been up here how long now?
A little over 3 months.
A little over 3 months. Sorry, I'm looking at Todd saying wheels wiggling. That's an odd one. Sorry. So a little over 3 months, and I want to say that I've really enjoyed getting to know you some, and I'm really excited about what the next 9 months or so has in store with you. And we're really appreciative that you've come on here to tell us a little bit about your story from your perspective, since even though we've heard some from your brother's perspective. So again, welcome. And so Chad, coming from the same hometown, we're both Palm Beach County. Belgrade's Palm Beach County, right?
I'm in Loxahatchee.
Loxahatchee.
Yeah, it's all
He
Palm
was
Beach County.
okay. So who spent time in
My dad.
Okay. So Palm Beach County is both where we hail from, but all the way from there, my friend, why don't you bring us in with your story? You're from Loxahatchee. Tell us about growing up in, we call down there lots of scratch me. So.
I mean, I don't know. It was pretty good. You know, I came from a really good family, and it's more like the west side of West Palm, and he's from the woods, and we just grew up hanging out and riding bicycles, and you know, we were never inside. We didn't, just what it was, and you know, had a really good childhood and really good life. So
yeah, audience probably doesn't realize this and know this, but Loxahatchee is a real unique area in Palm Beach County, because most of Palm Beach County is like a basically zero lot line home neighborhoods and real busy. Loxahatchee is the acreage. Okay, it's like what's the average lot size out there?
acre and a half.
An acre and a half is your average lot size out there. And for the longest time, it was almost like the Wild Wild West. There wasn't a lot of people out there, but that's back in my time. I mean, when I was a kid, you go out there and there was maybe one or two homes on every road. Now the place is all grown up and paved, but it was all dirt roads. You could go out there and shoot guns. It's a great area, and there's a lot of more of like the outdoorsy type stuff, you know, dirt bikes, fishing, hunting, all that kind of stuff going on out there. So this is where you grew up, and I've met his parents. They are great people. So grew up with a great childhood, lots of opportunity, loving family. So take us from there. Where'd you go to school, actually?
I went to school out there, Acreage Pines for elementary school, then Western Pines for middle school, and then I went to Seminole Ridge until I dropped out. But
when did you drop out?
My sophomore year.
Okay, same as me. Dropped out sophomore year.
I mean, I played sports. I played all sports. I played sports every year. You know, I rode a lot of BMX and.
BMX at Okeechobee?
No, I rode at the track a few times, but there was somebody down the street that had a track in his yard that raced there professionally. So we pretty much just spent most of our summers there and time there.
So regular childhood, nothing really that would cause you to take a turn for the rebellious type lifestyle. When would you start going into this rebellious lifestyle? And can you look back and say anything kind of nudge you in that direction?
Well, I came from a really good family, and you know, my mom and dad definitely tried to give me everything they could. You know, and you know, mom was, you know, phenomenal. You know, and my parents did get divorced when I was 6, and at that age, I truly didn't understand that it wasn't my fault. You know, like they had videos in school they would show about parents' divorce, and at that age, you don't understand that it has nothing to do with you. And you know, I thought, what did I do wrong to cause them to get divorced? And you know, now I understand. I'm older. It wasn't me, but it felt like to me that it kind of like it was my fault. You know, and I blamed it on myself. And it was like, so just the rebellion stage was was, I don't know, it was weird for me, like, because I wasn't that type of person. Like, I never got in trouble in school, really. You know, I wasn't the best student in grades-wise.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I failed second grade because I couldn't read too well. But when it started, it just started. It was something about it that I guess I liked inside of me, you know, to be rebellious. And
so you started to, you would say you started to rebel pretty young then?
Well, it wasn't too young. It wasn't until, I wasn't really rebellion too young. It really wasn't until about high school or 8th grade or so.
Okay.
I actually got started with addiction really young. My dad had knee surgery when I was probably in like 7th or 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard some buddies talking about some pills at school one day, and I was like, man, my dad's got some of these things at home. So I went home and, you know, he had oxys and whatever they give you for lower sets for, you know, knee pain, and I started taking them just for fun. You know, at 14 years old, not understanding what I was getting myself into. You know?
Sure.
Never knew. You know, you see videos growing up about don't do drugs and stuff on, you know, these people are sleeping in the city on cardboard boxes. Like, that'll never be me.
Right.
And, you know, the doctor gave these to my dad, so there's, you know, really it was just for fun, you know, and then it never got better. You know,
Yeah.
It's just roller coaster ride ever since, you know, since the age of 14 or 15.
It's pretty common. I don't think anybody starts off saying, you know, I'm going to take this so I can end up on a, you know, street on a cardboard box. They always think that it's harmless. It'll just be nothing. And, you know, there are a lot of people that take that kind of stuff and go through a little stage in life and nothing really ever comes of it. They don't get into addiction and whatnot, you know, but some of us, it does. It kind of takes over a life. So you started around 14 years old taking dad's pills. So, you know, how did it progress from there? So 14, you're in 8th grade, 7th, 8th grade. And then, so you got...
First time I ever really got in trouble for it, I ended up giving this girl at school, a friend of mine, some, and she got sick just from taking them. And they ended up, you know, catching up to me and calling them. And then, you know, my dad realized, you know, he's been missing a bunch of his pills. And then so I got expelled from 8th grade. But it was like the last like 2 weeks, and then that was the first time I really got in trouble for, you know, anything, you know, besides my parents finding weed before my room, you know, and me drinking, and, you know, it all came with it. It was all like just a big party for us, you know, like, you know, I did live out in the woods, so there was not much to do, you know, in the summertime, so that was like typical for us, you know, that was what we did. So, and then I cleaned up my act a little bit. And then when I got to high school, I played football my freshman year. And then...
Which will consume a lot of your time.
Which, yeah, it definitely did. You know, I'm worried about the drug test they say they're going to give you and steroid test or whatever. So, you know, I didn't do anything. And it kind of spooked me at first, you know, getting in trouble. And so I played football. And then about the time football season was over with, my grades just... it wasn't that I wasn't smart. I never applied myself in school.
Mm-hmm.
And I never tried... like never did homework, and so once football season was over, my grades just, you know, started plummeting. Then they told me next year you can't play because your grades are so bad now that you won't be able to get your GPA up high enough. And then that's when I started with Xanax again, and then it went, you know, it just slowly progressed, you know.
I don't think there's anything that you can like put, and this is true of everybody that struggles, but it's interesting to point out when there's common traits with people that come from a substance abuse background. Now, I truly believe that, you know, substance abuse all starts with, you know, people choosing to, you know, there wasn't some force that forced you to take substances. Now, when people start talking about it along some of the clinical lines, you'd almost come away with that kind of impression, like this person was born doomed to be, you know, involved in this. I don't fall into that category. But one thing that is very, very common is that in school, it seems like most people that come from a substance abuse background are highly intelligent. They did really poorly in school, and I truly believe it's because they learned differently and they just weren't challenged or directed right when it came to school. So they disconnected, and it just affected their grades the way they did. But we got to take a break, and then I'll pick up on that when we come back. But we'll be in high school when we come back with your story. So, folks, stay with us. Thanks for everybody saying hi on Facebook, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. So stick with us. Bye. Doing great, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. Pastor Scott's watching. I don't want to make you nervous.
It's hard to
Where'd you
quit.
go to high school at in Florida?
Seminole Ridge. It's a newer high school down there. It had only been open like 4 years when I went, so it was like a really up-to-date school. The courtyard's like 5.5 acres long.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Where'd you go to high school at, Jimmy?
Wellington, which was right across the Southern Boulevard from them.
It's not far from me. I live here now, so.
I remember high school football in Florida. It was big
Yeah,
time.
ours was big. We went undefeated that year.
I remember
Free safety and punt returner.
Sarasota, when I was living down there, they had a stadium that sat 11,000 people. When I was leaving, I had gotten a gig in, I'd gotten a lead or a job opportunity in St. Louis. When I was leaving, they were expanding that stadium to 16,000.
That's crazy.
And the press boxes, all of them in Florida, were goal line to goal line. And in Sarasota had the best. You came in this side, it was the home side. The right side was the visitor side. Each side had a refrigerator. Each side had a table loaded with food. So you didn't have to go across the press box. You were right there. You had, and I mean, pizza, sandwiches. I mean, the whole works. In the middle, it was the officials and the radio. I remember the Fighting Sailors, and golly, man, tell you what, they had some athletes on that team. I remember they played a team out of Miami, Coral Gables, and they rallied to beat them 15-14, and that place went nuts.
That's a good school.
I mean, it was good radio. I mean, it was good football. It would blow away the football here in North Carolina.
Yeah.
It's like South Carolina. The better football is in South Carolina. It's not up here. I mean, up here...
You ever heard of the Muck Bowl?
No.
No?
What's my dad's?
So,
And-
Belglade and Pahokee.
There's a lot of NFL players out there.
Yeah, they pump out NFL players like
Oh, I'll
you wouldn't
bet.
believe.
I'll bet.
Yeah, that's
'Cause-
called when those two schools play each other. They call it the Muck Bowl.
Oh, my God, I could imagine.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this, Jimmy. We are back in 49 seconds. I don't know if he was there or if he enrolled the following year, but 1986, we kicked off the state championship game at Jacksonville Bowles High School, 77 degrees.
Wow.
It was awesome. The funny thing is, Chipper Jones went to that school. So he was either there as a sophomore because his dad thought he needed to upgrade, or he was going to come in the following spring, the following fall. Here we go, Jimmy. 7 seconds. Mics are hot.
Hey, welcome back. This is Recovery Talk. I'm Jim Quigley. I got Chad in the studio with me today. Before we get back to his story, got to give a shout out to Freedom Autotech, the show's sponsor. Give them a call, 828-355-4434, if you have a vehicle need that needs to be serviced. They do regular service. They do part replacement. They'll come and diagnose whatever issue you may have. They'll make suggestions on things that you may need to do. But they'll treat you fair and give you a good price, and you can get a warranty, 2-year, 24,000-mile nationwide part and labor warranty on any new parts you get through Freedom Autotech. So give them a call, 828-355-4434, and know that they're open on Saturdays. So a lot of people need to get their vehicle serviced on Saturdays. They can't make it there during regular business hours. So here you are, another opportunity to get good service on the weekend. Chad, so we're back to you. You're basically in high school, starting to get in trouble, and why don't you take us from there, my friend?
So I think the next time I got in trouble, I've been in a lot of trouble. So unfortunately,
I'm kind of saving it for the audience. For those of you that are watching Facebook, this guy looks like a young, innocent guy with. Well, you got a pretty gnarly red beard going on.
Good,
I think it's pretty cool.
Thank you.
I think you may be a little shocked at what he has to share with us. But so why don't you tell us what was your first major? I know you got a girl sick and you got expelled in 8th grade. Then you get into high school and you drop out in 10th grade. So why don't you take us from there?
So I got in trouble a few more times in school, but I dropped out my sophomore year. That's when Roxy's back then down there were big, and they were cheap, and I worked. And
for those who don't know, I always kind of educate people. So Roxy's, that's what we call them blues.
Mm-hmm.
Some people in the north call them Perk 30s. So basically, the strongest Percocet pill they take for giving people for pain is 10 milligrams. Okay, that's the strongest Percocet. If you've ever had any kind of oral work done or basic in and out surgery or something, Percocet's a very common drug. But Percocet is a big pill, and the reason why it's big is because there's a lot of over-the-counter medicine in there, acetaminophen, right? So they give 10 milligrams of this pain medication with a bunch of acetaminophen to help. So Roxycontin is 30 milligrams of this pain medication without the acetaminophen. So these little teeny blue pills that are very strong. It's like taking 3 Perk 10s at one time. That's why some people call them Perk 30s. So these were flooding the streets in South Florida. That's what he's talking about. We called them Roxy's down there. I was a big Roxy abuser myself.
So that's when those really came into the picture for me, and that's when things really took a left turn. I started running away a lot about 17 years old. I was already dropped out, and just doing whatever it took, at that age, And I grew up, my dad, we fixed everything around the house ourselves. So, I've always been really hands-on and good at things. And it's like, once I started using, I took everything good that I learned and turned it bad, and it never got worse, and I start getting high and I need the money, and then I start stealing a lot. And so when I was 17, I had ran away from home a bunch of times, and my uncle and my cousin up in Central Florida were like, come live with us and get better. So, I did that, and I moved up there for a while and kind of got my act together and got a job, and then eventually I started messing up again. I moved back down, and it just continued to get worse. And my first, I've been locked up twice as a juvenile, once for an assault, another for stealing. And then I would say my first major arrest was I was 18. I went to the county. I don't remember how many charges it was, but I ended up on probation for 7 felonies, I want to say. I ended up doing a couple months, and then I got 3 years probation, DOC probation, and part of me getting out on probation was for me to go to rehab. And so I did that. I went to a 30-day rehab, which was a 12-step NA rehab. And
what was the name of it?
Vince Carter. It was in Bunnell. It was right outside of Daytona.
Oh, okay.
So that wasn't my first time to rehab. This is my 6th time, but I don't count any of the other ones because they're really short.
If you can though, mention them because people are watching and listening. That's kind of important to know that you've been through places that have tried to help you before.
The first time was for probation. Called me, wanted me to come in for a drug test. I couldn't pass it, and it was an obligation where I go and get an evaluation. Well, they gave me an evaluation, tried to check me in, told me I was going to be there for 90 days. So I was there for like 45 minutes. I left. you know, just in the state of mind I was in. And then the second time was when I went for 30 days when I got out of jail.
This one in Daytona?
In Daytona.
Okay, so that's your second time?
That was probably, you know, when I first got there, I was like, I didn't want to be there, and, you know, probation made me come, and, you know.
Which is, you know, important to know. I mean, I get phone calls every day, you can imagine, and, you know, from people that are like, how do I help my loved one out? And they're like, he needs help. And I said, well, do they think they need help? Well, no. How do I get them to know they do? And I was like, that's, you know, the $1 million question. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you force people to go, and I'm not saying it never works out. I have heard once in a while, you know, somebody gets forced into something like that, but typically it's not a very beneficial thing.
So 30 days that time, 2 hours the next time.
2 hours?
Yeah, I went back to the place, the same one I went to the first time, and it was another probation officer. I was a little older then. That was when I had got out of jail on the probation. After I got out for the 30 days, it didn't take me long. You know, I did good for a little bit, you know. And at that age, I didn't, you know, I felt like, I don't know, you know, like I was untouchable. You know, I couldn't get in trouble. Like, you know, kid, you know, really I'm not anymore, you know.
Right.
And so probation, I couldn't pass the drug test again. And probation called me in, so I went there. And I was there for 2 hours. I was like, man, I'm going to jail anyway. So I left, you know, and ended up at 19, I ended up getting arrested again for 7 violations of probation, 21 charges, and, you know, just a whole mess of things, you know. And it, you know, I sat in jail for 10 months, and then I ended up getting 5 years for that one. So, you know, prison. And
I'm curious, when you were running around doing this, were you like with people, or were you pretty solo?
I'm pretty well. I was with the same girl for a long time, and you know, it was a really toxic relationship, you know. And then I didn't see that she brought me down, but you know, it was both of us.
Yeah.
You know, two sickies don't make a wellie, they say. You know, and it was so. But nobody ever really influenced me but myself. Like, you know, I never hang out with a group of people like that when I was doing what I was doing, you know. And so there was a few times a few people got in trouble with me, but it was nothing serious that they did, you know what I mean? So I wasn't completely with people, but with one particular person I was with for a long time. So.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a toxic relationship, and it was never good. You know, like we would do good for a little bit, and then eventually I would mess up and then drag her down with me, you know. Or we get into a fight or something, you know, whatever it was, you know. But
how old is Adam at this point, your brother that we talked about at the beginning of the show?
He's 4 years younger than me.
So you're 19, he's 15.
Yeah.
And he's seeing you getting all this trouble.
Yeah, you know, and I tried to push him away, you know. I didn't realize what I was doing at the age, you know. I had no idea, you know. And, you know, I wish I knew now what I knew then, you know. And, but, yeah, he don't know what to think, you know. He probably can't understand at the time why my parents are like, won't give up on me, you know. And it, you know, it hurts me, you know what I mean? But it's you know, I pretty much abandoned him, or you know, I'm stealing all my family stuff and his stuff and whatever I get my hands on, and he's around, you know, and then he's got to go face people in the neighborhood that he knows, like, you know, it's hurtful, you know, knowing it now. But, you know, I didn't know then, you know.
He's all right, and he loves you.
I know.
So we're coming up on a break. So I think when we come back, you get 5 years, and you go away. And I'd like to hear, if you don't mind, you know, what that was like, spending 5 years, and then we'll take it up from there, right? So stick with us, folks. We'll be back with Chad right after this break.
You're going in the news. You got about 5 minutes, gentlemen.
You need to use restroom.
Dude, you are a badass. Hey, man,
I've got 20 felonies on my record right now.
Do you really? Dude, please keep it clean, man.
Orly Lopez.
Yeah.
You don't know who they are?
No.
Yes, you do.
Orly Lopez?
I think that's what it is.
Oh, Ori. That's my mom watching.
Oh.
Hey, Mom. Did you hear me?
Mom says no to the beard.
She doesn't like the beard.
What's up, Ira? Hi, Carol. Margaret. Pastor Scott. Pastor Scott, if you're listening, did you fill out my reference form yet? You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Yeah, I think you are.
Law enforcement agencies are investigating after a Henderson police officer was shot while investigating a shooting early this morning. The officer was taken to a
That's your
hospital
mom?
in Durham.
What?
The officer is alert and
What'd you say? What is the name?
Oh, my mom said that it won't let her do it on her, I don't know, Facebook or her phone. She's got a phone. She needs to get a new, Mom, you need a new phone. That's what it is. She's had the same phone for like 10 years.
Okay.
But she, the lady, or her friend that works with her, that's who she's on.
Ah, okay. I get it. Mom, they have to go through a beard stage once they get to the mountains. It's a thing. So I've trimmed mine down quite a bit. So.
I want it like down here.
Yeah, ZZ Top.
No, not too long.
No?
Just about here.
Okay.
Once I get it to a nice length, I'll start.
Are you putting the oil in it yet?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't all the time.
Alright.
Don't bother me.
Are you grooming it? No?
No, try to go.
Okay.
I like it.
No, I think it looks good. But your mom may have more influence over that than me. So.
She tries.
Yeah.
Resources together to improve the education, income, and health of our communities, the building blocks for a better life. When we live united, our efforts magnify.
Sorry about the commercial breaks there, folks that are watching us. I know it's kind of boring at this moment, but this is the problems of being on the radio. We have to sell advertising space in order to keep the radio show and the radio station running. So.
I like just like, I don't know, lost for words, you know what I mean? Like,
What's that?
kind of like, it's hard to like keep it in a steady, it's like my story, but, you know what I mean?
You're doing fine, man. Yeah.
I feel like I'm jumping back and forth.
No, I kind of, that's kind of, I feel that's my job, kind of keep people on timeline, and, yeah, I think you're doing fine. That's why I kind of repeat, like, hey, so when we come back, 5 years, I mean, you're always going to go away from this and say, oh, I wish I had said this, I wish I had said that. Look, there's no way around that, So, yeah. So, just don't worry about it. Uh-oh, Christina Marie says she loves the beard.
Come on, you got time, bud. Don't worry. Stupid internet on that other side ain't working good enough. Yeah, great signal. All right.
Is this on the radio right now?
In here, it's clear out. They got so much Jimmy. I'll tell you what, I'll make you a wager. I'll make you a wager of a Big Mac meal.
Oh.
Okay? That whoever comes in here as a new GM will not last more than 6 months to a year.
Is Robin gone?
Yeah.
When did she go?
She got moved to Winston-Salem.
Oh, no. Is that a promotion for her?
Yes, I don't trust it anymore.
At least we're hearing a static Copacabana at the Copa.
The following is a test of the emergency alert system. The
Oh.
emergency alert system was implemented by federal, state, and local authorities to keep the public informed in the event of an actual emergency. This is only a test.
1, 2, 3.
Also doing great.
You're doing fine, man. Yeah.
You're doing very good.
This has been a test of this station's emergency alert system. Had this been an
One
actual
more
emergency, the tones you just heard would have been followed by information and instruction. This is Classic Hits 100.7 and 99.1 WGJS NRF.
It's time to rethink vaping. Visit rethinkvape.org.
Very
Have
good.
you ever wondered what it takes to be a foster
All right,
parent?
Jimmy, you will be on in 29 seconds.
29
Good news
seconds.
is, you can be single.
Oh, boy.
There are no particular income requirements.
All right,
And you
guys.
can live in Watauga County or surrounding counties. To find out if you might be a good fit, call Jessica Weinbarger now at 828-265-8100 or email
Okay, 11
her at
seconds, Jimmy. Here we go. Mics are hot.
at
Welcome back to Recovery Talk, the show that tries to bring some hope and help for hurting people that are. There's a lot of people out there dealing with either substance abuse themselves or loved ones that are involved in it. So that's what the purpose of this show is: try to give some hope that, you know what, people do get better. I'm living proof of that, and Chad is also. So we'll get right back to Chad's story, but don't forget about our show's sponsor, Freedom Auto Tech. We're promoting this shop because you can know as a customer that if you bring your business to Freedom Auto Tech, that the profits go to support men in recovery, Christian recovery, Christian transformational program, so it's a good cause. 828-355-4434. Go get your car fixed. You can get a warranty on your parts, 2-year, 24,000 mile nationwide parts and labor. 828-355-4434. They're open on Saturdays even. So if you got a problem with your car, bring it to them, get it fixed. 828-355-4434. All right, Chad. When we left, you got 5 years. 5 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
5 years. I have no experience being locked away like that. So what was that like?
At that age,
How old were you?
I was 19 when I went.
19 years old.
I think I was 20 when I went to prison, but I got locked up at 19. But
Okay.
it was at first, I didn't realize, it was horrible, it sucked, but it's what I got myself into,
Mhm.
and you have to accept it, and I never want to say it was a good thing, but it definitely taught me a lot about who I was.
Mhm.
And it'll definitely sit you down and make you take a look at your life. And, I had some things happen. I've had my nose broke, and jaw broke, and eardrum busted, fractured ribs. I've had my ear bit, and it
All altercations while
all
locked
altercation. Yeah, just fighting, and not, just doing what I had to do to get by, but I definitely, I learned a lot from it, and I ended up catching an assault on an officer's charge, and I did like almost 2 years in confinement, in the box or the hole, whatever they call it, and that was definitely sit you down. You're pretty much in a room for 23 hours a day, 24 hours a day, really. They don't really let you out like they're supposed to, but, and all you have to do is read, in time, and,
Read and sleep and eat.
that's it. That's it.
Ugh. 2 years.
Almost 2 years. Yeah.
So a lot of people, obviously prison is a punishment for breaking the law, but a lot of times prison or institutions like that try to provide rehabilitation of some kind. So was any of that provided for you? Did you have any programs offered to you?
I did get my high school diploma,
Okay.
so that was a plus. That was pretty much it.
Did they bring any kind of like recovery stuff to you?
They have, church groups or church services, and then NAA groups, but it's not the same. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's definitely, a lot of the church groups will be like an inmate preaching to us, that's been locked up for 20 years, and just knows the Bible in and out,
Right.
And like you said in class, how you explained it, before, and I mean, they had NAA, but they're not really. Florida's like the second biggest state in the United States for inmate population, and funds are like not there.
Okay.
So they say a lot of things they have, but honestly, you know, they don't. You know, every now and then you'll get to a camp that does, but you know.
So you could say that you were humbled to some degree. You learned. You keep saying that you kind of learned who you were. You kind of you know whatnot. So what happens after you get released? You're 24
So
when
I
you get released.
released when I'm 24, and
Everything got better.
It did actually, you know, and for a little bit at least, and I did really good, man. I got out and I got a job, you know, almost as soon as I got out, and of course my family helped me with the vehicle, you know, they got me a truck, and I went to work and worked and made money and, you know, almost pretty much lived a normal life, you know, and I smoked weed and drank, but it was almost like, it was like I managed it for a while pretty much, is what I'll say, and but for almost a year, that's what I did, you know, and I was happy, but I guess some of my downfall would be I got back with the same girl that I was with before I went to prison, and you know it wasn't necessarily her, but you know it just I guess the way it went down, you know, but I was doing good. I mean I made decent money doing concrete, you know. I liked the crew I worked with, you know. Me and my dad went fishing a lot, you know. I lived at home with them still, but you know.
So this is kind of you know they in 12-step meetings I learned the Albert Einstein definition of insanity, right? It's doing the same thing the same way and expecting different results, right? So you got out of prison and you started off basically the same way you've tried to start off before, like get a job, right, and pay your bills, and try to just stick with smoking weed and drinking, and right back with the same girl that, you know, today you said was a toxic relationship. But I don't think you went into any of that thinking that I'm going to end up back in trouble. You went in that way thinking it'll be different this time, right? So there's their definition, because an outsider, a person, you know, looking, you know, from the outside is going, you're going right back down the same road, right? So why would you do that? And you know, I guess the one different thing is that, you know, you came saying, hey, you know, I don't want to get 5 years again. You know, I don't want to get in that kind of trouble. And like I said, you know, most of the guys in my experience that I meet, you know, they break commitments, they leave prematurely, they go off and do things, and you know, it's always the same conversation. You know, like, you know, do you realize what you're doing? And they look at me in the face and they honestly tell me, and I believe they believe it too. It's gonna be different this time. You know, I know what I'm doing. It's gonna be okay. And you know, unfortunately, you know, I could say confidently that the majority of the time, the great majority, like 99.9% of the majority, they go right back to the same thing, you know, and then they call up again if they get that opportunity, and they're like, I don't know what happened. And you almost feel like at that point, like, you know, strangling them, like, what do you mean you don't know what happened, you know? But anyway, so you, a year out working, not staying out of trouble, get back with the same girl, so what happens next?
I got into my own head. I went, you know, just sitting around the house one day. You know, it happened slowly. You know, the thoughts, you know, the thinking that I could do it and get and you know, be fine. You know, and we got rained out at work one day, and I was sitting at home, and I was like, man, just one. You know, and I ended up, you know, getting on Facebook. That's another reason why I have one. And I found a friend, and he hooked me up with somebody, and you know, I had the money. You know, that was not a problem. And then, you know, it slowly, definitely progressed. You know, and I hid it from the girl that I was with for a couple months. You know, she had no idea, because she actually went to prison when I went to prison. And but I hid it from her, and that was how I managed it, her not knowing, and then we got into a big altercation, and I came out, and that's when things really took off again. Like now I had nobody to hide it from but my family, and I moved out from their house, was in an apartment, renting a room, and it just never got better again, and it happened a lot fast. I wouldn't say it happened a lot faster, I would say, than before,
The downward spiral.
The downward spiral.
Yeah.
I had the money, I was working,
How long did the job last?
That job didn't last much longer. And then I went to another job, and that job didn't last longer, and then I started selling drugs, and to support my habit, and then I was doing more than I could sell, and then it just went. At this point, I'm still only using Roxy, so, and it just never got better, and then I started going back in my old ways of stealing again, and then that's when it really went, like, downhill again for me.
So, how old were you at this time? 26?
I'm 25, 26.
25, 26. So, right back into where you were at, if not worse, before going to prison for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're coming up on another break. This will be, we're on. So, coming up on a break, sorry about that. And when we come back, we'll finish up Chad's story. How long is this break?
2 minutes.
Let me go quick.
This is especially true regarding your finances and retirement. Hi, Mark.
Man, dude, I'll tell you what.
Financial Radio. First Saturday mornings at 10 on 1450 WATA.
You sure you didn't know any of my friends growing up?
Exactly what we discuss with you every week on USA Financial Radio.
A lot of those guys were
Right
gangsters.
here every Saturday morning at 10. USA Financial Radio.
A lot of those
brought to you by
guys were
Gary Anderson of
gangsters.
the Estate Planning Center.
Hello, my name's Dave Wood with Freedom Electech. I've been advertising with High Country Radio for 2 years. A lot of people stopping by the showroom saying they heard us on the radio. It's been an overwhelming response, really, more than I thought we would get. We do a lot of things, and we were trying to get the word out about all the different things we do, and people have been coming in and mentioning it directly.
In the market for a new or used vehicle? At Discovery Chevrolet Buick GMC in Boone, you'll be met with the best selection of new and pre-owned vehicles. Discovery has access to over 450 quality pre-owned vehicles.
Jay, you are going to be on in 46 seconds.
46
And this will be your last segment.
Yeah, we'll finish that.
When you come back, you will have basically about 11 minutes.
Okay.
At DiscoveryCBG.com. Chevrolet. Find new roads.
Final break coming up right now.
Appalachian State
Man,
University
Jimmy, I
and
can't
Appalachian
believe you
Summer
did all that
Festival in its
stuff. Son
35th
of a
anniversary
buck.
season presents Grammy Award
Man, you
winning
were a
record
tough
company
guy.
Composer Chris Bodie. Friday, July 19th, 8 p.m. at the Schaefer.
Did you ever think you'd get out of it, bud?
A brilliant band
There was
leader
times I
and
didn't,
show.
no.
Bodie returns to the
Thank God you're
festival
still
for
alive and you're still with us.
Yeah.
8 seconds. Mics are hot.
Welcome back, folks. This is Recovery Talk. We're on our final segment with our guest today, Chad. But before we finish the story out, don't forget about Freedom Auto Tech. Freedom Auto Tech is a local auto shop here in town, ready to service all your mechanical needs on your vehicles. And you can know as a customer at the same time the profits are going to support men in Christian recovery through Freedom Farm Ministries. 828-355-4434. That's 828-355-4434. Don't forget, they're open on Saturdays, and you can get a 2-year, 24,000-mile parts and labor nationwide warranty with parts that you buy through Freedom Auto Tech. All right, Chad. So, what happens next? Because we want to kind of get to the good stuff, but I think we have one more bad thing to talk about.
Yeah.
Right?
It didn't get worse. I ended up back on the streets, running around, doing what I needed to do. And then that's when, heroin came in the picture and, the IV using. And, but that only lasted, like 4 months.
Okay.
And I ended up getting locked up again. And,
More charges?
Yeah, more
or
charges.
violation?
I went to no more charges. I got out of prison clean with 11 felonies on my record. First time I got out of prison. I got locked up this time and the last time, and I got locked up on 4, and then like a week later hit me with 4 more. I ended up with like 12 or 14 felonies. Anyway, it was just crazy how it all happened. While I was in jail, they actually have, in our county jail, they actually have it's called, what is it called? I can't remember the name. Another Way program.
Another Way.
So, it's like a drug dorm that you go live into, you know, and I kind of went there to, you know, help my case out a little bit too, you know, and, so I signed up for it. I went, I knew it couldn't hurt me, you know, and, things just started happening in my life that I seen, blessings, you know, and, while I was in there, my brother, that was actually around the time he got the job here, working for Freedom Farms, and, you know, I'm expecting to go back to prison, you know, like, you know, and I'm like almost okay with it. Like, I know this is what I did again, and I just need to do it and get it over with.
Like, how many more new charges you got?
So I got
like 12?
I got 9. I have 12. I ended up with 9 more felonies. So I have 20 felonies on my record now today.
But someone that has 11 and then gets 9 more, you're going back to prison.
I figured that,
Yeah.
but I didn't.
Right.
I went to court, you know, expecting to get at least 18 months. That's what my co-defendant got, you know, and they told me they would give me a year. You know, I'm like, okay. You know, so yeah, so I ended up getting a year. I did like 9.5 months on that. But while I was in jail, man, you know, like I never went to church growing up. I never read the Bible. You know, I was told I was a Christian because I was told I was a Christian. You know, like, oh, you're a Christian. Oh, okay. You know, and so, you know, I had a buddy that was in there. You know, he always read the Bible, and you know, I would ask him like where to read, and then, you know, Adam got the job here, and then, you know, it popped up. You know, if mom and dad want to help you out, would you come up here? Absolutely. You know, and this time it was different for me. You know, I realized I'm getting older. You know, I was just tired of it, man. Tired of going to jail. Tired of living on the streets. You know, and I come from a really good family, and it's I'm the only one in my family that's, you know, out there, and but so while I was in jail, they set it all up, and you know, here I am, and I'm definitely more than blessed, you know, and I'm grateful, and you know, I've learned a lot since I've been here. A lot about myself, you know, a lot about, you know, other people, and you know, I've been to the 12-step, you know, meetings and programs, and you know, and when I got here, it was something different. You know what I mean? The way that the program was ran, and it was totally different. You know, just coming to a faith-based program in general, you know, it opened my eyes to a lot of things. You know, and when I was in prison, you know, there's all types of religions and stuff people believe in, you know, and you're like, you know, and it was just how things, you know, to me, I watched things unfold in my life that brought me to the point I'm at today, you know, that made me, show me that there's something more powerful than me out there that I don't understand, you know, and, you know, I'm not perfect, you know, I still have my doubts, but I believe now, you know, today, so I have faith, you know, that everything will work out for the best, you know, and, you know, I struggled when I first got here sometimes, you know, it wasn't perfect, you know.
What are you talking about?
Well, I wanted to, you know, I wanted to be here, but like, you know, I had already been clean for 9 months, and my sick mind at the time would tell me that, oh, you've been clean for almost a year or whatever, you know, you're okay, but, you know, I know that I'm not.
Right.
You know, my way never worked, apparently, you know, and I've been on this same roller coaster ride for, you know, 12 years, 13 years, and I'm only 27, so, you know, God has a weird way of showing you things, you know, from what I see, and I've, you know, now completed the first 2 phases, and I'm in the 3rd phase, and you know, I was like, man, I'm not gonna work for the ministry, and you know, I got asked to work for the ministry, you know, and I want to say no, but I know that's not what I need, so I said yes. So now I work for the Freedom Farms Ministry.
Chad is one of our newest interns at the Freedom Farm Ministries. He's working for FFM Services and doing a great job.
So, you know, it's just, you know, but you have to want it.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times I went to treatment before for a family or for, you know, my brother or whatever, you know. Me being last person, I want to be there, you know, and I want it this time. You know, I didn't want to live the life that I've, you know, lived before, you know. And I have a lot of skills, you know. I can, you know, pretty much fix and do anything, you know. And it's like, I'm just wasting it away, you know. And I just want more for myself in life now, you know. So.
Let me say a couple things. First, because I was on this side of it, right? I want to tell you, I could see it in your eyes. I'm not trying to get you emotional, but you know, you're talking about, you know, the stuff you're doing and affecting your brother. You know, on this side of it, when I was talking to your brother about you coming up here, he was never like giddy excited, but he was just confidently excited about you coming here. And you know what? I felt my responsibility to your brother was making sure that he prepared himself for a letdown, right? And he was, you know, I was like, look, I really hope it all works out, Adam, but you just got to be prepared if it doesn't, you know? And you know what, as much as you may think negatively, like, about whatever you did, you know, negative influence on your brother's in a pretty good spot. And I'm going to tell you, your brother loves you to death. I mean, those conversations I had, he had all the hope in the world, but he didn't think he was going to be the source of your hope. Does that make sense?
No. Yeah, he is, though.
He wanted to be someone there to try to point you in a good direction, but he didn't think that he was going to fix you. So I think your brother's in a pretty good spot. The other thing you said, I'm the only one in my family that, now look, you're the only one in your family that's had this outward consequence for stuff, but you're not your only one in your family that has problems, okay? And this is not an attack on anybody in your family. This is just reality of all human beings, my friend. The more you progress in life, the more you start to realize, you know what? Mike Kelly doesn't have a substance abuse issue, but he's got issues just like I got issues. And I can say that, and he's not offended by it because he knows what I'm talking about, right? We all have issues, man. So you have some consequences that are a little bit more out there in front of people, but you're not different as far as having problems like the regular average human being. So don't feel different, okay? I don't want you to feel that you're a special case when it comes to problems going. So I really felt like I needed to tell you that.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
But yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm here to do. But anyway, man, you have been doing great. You know, the ministry tries to stay as low cost as possible for guys to come, but we have almost no donor support. So what we do is we have these income revenue stream businesses, the auto shop, the Freedom Services, which is really like kind of like a property maintenance, small remodeling type stuff, lawn maintenance, and then we have a thrift store, and these bring funds into the program so that we can try to help out as many guys as we can. So you are really serving the ministry, because when we call them an intern, they're doing it for really just pocket money, and they no longer have to pay the rent to be here. So it's a sacrifice, because he could go out, especially with his skill set, and go out and make more money an hour, but money is really not the important thing to you right now. Money's important, but you're showing that, hey, I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit in order to give back so the next guy can come through
I just
here.
want to show the guys behind me that, you know what I mean, you can show them a better way, you know what I mean? Like, don't make plans for the future, because, you know.
Well, look, brother, I'm excited to spend the next 9 months. Remember, you got to stay here 9 more months at least with you. But the show's over today, Chad. Thanks so much for coming in. Say goodbye to everybody that's been watching you. You've got a lot of comments. Hopefully you go back and listen to this later. But, hey, folks, we'll be back next week, 10:30 Thursday, and can't wait to be with you then. We'll see you till next week. Did a good
Great
job,
show,
buddy.
guys. And just do me a favor, walk on the straight and narrow. I know it ain't easy. I know it ain't easy, man. There's a lot of peer pressure to always go back.
Thanks, buddy.